Hi guys, it's Coach Pat from the Rant. Before we get to the Rant, let's talk a little bit about our sponsor, Premier Football Consulting. These guys do a great job of placing football players throughout the country at great programs from Division I to Division III. No one does it any better. But instead of me telling you about it, how about you hear from the CEO, Nico Pappas? Nico, tell us all about it.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Rant. My name is Nico Pappas. I'm Coach Pappas' son. I'm also the director and one of the founders here at Premier Football Consulting. Our team at PFC has been around for 23 years and is one of the largest football consulting groups in the country, as we've helped over 1,000 players and their family navigate this competitive, confusing, and costly recruiting process in an effort to find a great college fit. Our team consists of 15 former players and coaches that have experience at the FBS level, the FCS and Ivy League level, as well as the small college high academic landscape. Since the advent of the transfer portal, the NIL, and in the post days of COVID, this college recruiting process has become crazier than ever. It's confusing, it's competitive, and most importantly, it's costly. The PFC has stayed on top of all of these trends and has the ability to leverage our experience, our knowledge, and most importantly, our connections at the college level to give our players a huge edge in what will be a very competitive process. So if your son desires to play college football, I highly recommend that you get the help of an expert. When you go to buy a house, you look to hire a real estate agent. It's the same thing with the college recruiting process. When you are about to enter it, you should seek the help of an expert, and that's where the PFC comes in. So if you would be interested in a quick free consultation call, feel free to reach out to me at 617-308-7801 or shoot me an email at nico@premierfootballconsulting.com. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Nico, and thank you, Coach Pap. Now, on to the podcast. Cue the music, baby.
Hey, welcome, Rant fans. I'm coming from you from the freezing confines of my basement in Watertown, Massachusetts. No, I'm not.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
No, I'm not.
It's 18 degrees out right now. It's 18 degrees
Hey,
right
you
here.
guys having a heat wave. You guys are having a heat wave. Anyways, I'm Coach Pap from lovely Fort Lauderdale, Florida, co-hosting tonight with no one better. He's the all-time greatest, but right now a little bit depressed, and we're going to talk about that coming up.
We don't have to, but
we're going to talk about it. The great Danny Ventura and our producer. Here he is, locked down in Wayland, Massachusetts, just enjoying his final spring break, winter break. Next year you'll be working, my friend.
Yep, I'll be in the forces, baby.
Boy, I love it. Damian Pastine is going to produce. We got a great show today for you, folks. We're going to talk NFL football. We're going to talk national championship, college football, and then we have the great Greg Comella, who is a legend in Massachusetts, played at Xaverian, went out and played at Stanford, then was an absolute ass kicker for the New York Football Giants. Greg's a hot ticket. His son and his daughter, fantastic athletes, so we're going to get to that for guest. But Dame, why don't you start us off, my friend?
Of course, guys. We have finally gotten to the Final Four in the NFL playoffs. It is the AFC and the NFC championship, baby. We got Commanders, Eagles, and we got, what is this, fourth time in a row we've had Chiefs, Bills. And man, oh man, the Bills are actually favored this time.
I know, exactly.
That's surprising to me. It's surprising to me. And let's talk about, fellas.
Danny, why don't we start off with the NFC, my friend? Sorry about that.
Yeah, the Eagles game was a very good game. Oh, you want to talk about the other? I can't say I saw it coming. I will say, as the game went on, you just started to see little things that were going on that were like, yeah, this is not a good night for the Lions. You know, it started when they're up 7-3 driving. For some reason, they had been running the ball at will. They go third and short. They line up 5 wide. You know, commanded defensive linemen get in, go off of the ball. They take over. They march it down the field and score. And from that point on, it almost seemed like the Lions were swimming upstream the whole game. And then you get caught. Goff throws a bad interception, gets returned for a touchdown. He gets clobbered on the return. how the ref who was standing right there doesn't call, a hit to the head. I mean, I'm convinced he played the rest of the game concussed.
Yeah, Danny. So let's start with that, and we're going to talk about this. That I think it's about time they go to full-time referees in the NFL. Okay, this is getting absolutely insane because it is a multi-billion-dollar business, probably the most successful business in the millennium, and how they can get guys who are school teachers during the week, a liquor salesman or whatever, attorneys, and then they get them on the weekends. And by the way, it's not just the weekends because they're refereeing now games are almost every day of the week, and they try to get these guys to go out there, and they do a horrific job. It's out of control. And to your point, Danny, let's talk about the Lions. I agree with you. I think they came out of the chute. I think Ben Johnson he kind of got him. I think he got way too fancy in two key situations. The killer was when Sanderson, God bless Mike Sanderson from Everett, comes out with not his second interception, but on a double reverse pass that really shouldn't have been called. But Johnson gets a little fancy and so on and so forth. We should have been really pounding away on him. Before you know it, we get in the situation where Goff throws the pick and gets a helmet to the chin.
Brutal hit.
A brutal hit. Let's talk about the consequences. Number one, the touchdown comes back. Okay. At the time, Washington was not playing great in the red zone. Okay. Touchdown comes back. Maybe hold him to 3, maybe hold him to nothing. Okay. That's number one. Number two, the kid is the illegal shot. That's a personal foul. That's ejection right there. I mean, crown of the helmet to his chin.
He went right at him. I mean, there's no question. He went right at him. It was
blatant. And then the third thing, quite frankly, is I'm convinced he was concussed. My guess, he broke his jaw at some point. But I can tell you this: that he's a tough dude. He was not the same the rest of the game, and that was it for the Lions, in my opinion.
One. I know a lot of people in Detroit. The two people they're going after. Number one is Ben Johnson because he got a job 2 days later. Now people are saying, well, how much was his head? Which I don't buy. I mean, come on. I mean,
right.
It is what it is. I mean, Goff is taking because now you're going to start the Goff critics come out. The Rams were right. He can only take you so far, this, that, the other thing. But it was encouraging to see all his teammates, because he's very popular.
Of course.
They all came to his support, saying, hey, he's our leader. I have no problem going to war with him. He just picked a bad night to have a bad game.
And again, as well as I do, Dan, the reason they lost is they're just so beat up defensively. It was unbelievable. I mean,
45 points. You're not going to win too many. To me, it was like the Buffalo game during the regular season. The only difference is, that game was 48-42. The only difference is in this game, they turned the ball over. That game, they didn't turn it over, but they couldn't stop them. They couldn't stop Josh Allen. They couldn't stop Jaden Daniels. I mean, simple as that. Yeah, it's 16 guys, 16 defensive players on the IR. I mean, then they lose Mick Robertson, who was fantastic in the season finale against the Vikings. He shatters his arm right off the bat. So that now they're down another defensive back. And, not to make excuses. I mean, it was factual. Just a matter of time. And, in that game, hey, the Commanders deserved to win the game. Simple as that. They were the better team and deserved to win.
I think that the human body, quite frankly, is being pushed by the NFL. And I'm not sure how much more these guys can take it. They play 17 regular season games. They played some preseason games. Now we're 2 games into this thing. And honestly, you're seeing guys bones shattering and so on and so forth. I know I sound like a little sissy here. But, and again, am I a huge fan of Dan Campbell's? Absolutely. But should he be resting some of these guys moving forward? I mean, the biting of the kneecaps and all that stuff, we've kind of got there. I mean, I think it's really kind of it's getting to the point where we've got to figure some way out to get our best 11 players in there for the playoffs because that defense was really, really bad, Danny.
Yeah, I mean, the weird thing is a lot of those injuries, like Aiden Hutchinson, it was a teammate that he collided into. I mean, 3 or 4 of the season-ending injuries were basically fluke plays that guys ran into their own team, and that's what happened. But but John, you played college football, correct?
Yeah.
What position did you play in college?
I was a tight end.
Okay, how much did you weigh?
At the time, 215, believe it or not.
Okay, look at the tight ends today.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Watch this.
Gronk is was 250 in his heyday, and that's just you go position by position. I mean, safeties, in the old days, they probably, this, but they're probably what, 200 pounds maybe.
Right.
Well, I mean, safeties now they're like 225, 230, and and just work your way up. I mean, linemen at 300 pounds, and they run like running backs. I mean, it just, it's crazy.
I think the NFL really has to look at their product in a lot of different ways. And again, we've talked about it. I think they're really asking too much of the players, quite frankly, and they're not asking enough out of the officials. I mean, and again, these guys, I saw a thing on the internet. I mean, I don't know how they get graded and so on and so forth, but it's crazy. And I watched some games with some of my NFL, talked to some of my NFL friends while I was watching games, stuff like that. They couldn't believe that the referees that have made it all the way to the playoffs. It didn't make any sense. That all being said, Washington.
One thing I wanted to add in is this is probably, because usually the announcers don't have a field day with refs, but I've never heard there's much criticism. I mean, Brady got on them. Troy Aikman was all over
Troy
them.
Aikman was.
I've never heard. Collinsworth is always on them, but this was about as much as you could hear, negative commentary toward the officials by the announcers. I mean, I can't remember a weekend where it was worse.
Troy Aikman pulled no punches. He was doing the Kansas City game, and he said, he was talking under his breath. He was so frustrated. He goes, "Oh, that's enough. That's enough. We got to do something about it." I mean, I love Mahomes. I love him. You know what I mean? But my God, he's standing on the sidelines taunting them to push him out of bounds.
And he gives the little like he's flopping, like that's what he's doing.
There's got to be a flag for that. I mean,
he's literally flopping.
Either that, or what you're going to get is you're going to get some defensive guy who figures, you know what, if I'm going to get 15 yards, I'm getting my 15 yards worth, and he's going to get hurt. It's going to happen. Guys are big.
No doubt about it. Yeah. They absolutely.
And you're not encouraging an injury, but I mean, at some point, you're going to get the wrong guy is just going to say, F this.
Oh, yeah. No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just to me, again, and I don't want to make this just an abs. I would love to get I'd love to get an official on there. But you know what? There are so many, the pass interference rule is the worst rule. Like I said, it has overtaken 3 to make 2 in the NBA back when we were growing up here.
Right.
I mean, so it is the worst rule in all the sports. It can dictate a win and a loss on an objective call. Number 2, we've talked about it. The officials have to be able to concentrate on this stuff all week long, and you know what? Maybe do a couple games a week if that's what it takes. And then there are other penalties that we see that are just flagrant. And the worst thing that I hear, it's not we're going to review it. It's non-reviewable. That makes no sense to me at all. None.
Everything has to be everything.
Yes.
Belichick. It was Belichick's big thing. Everything you should be allowed to. Throw the flag on every call.
It's unbelievable. It's crazy. So anyway, that being said, we got to give it to Jaden Daniels. Danny played a hell of a game.
Oh, he's tremendous. I mean, remember we both were in agreement. Him and Joe Alt were the 2 best players coming out of the draft last year.
Yeah.
He's special.
He's special. And I'll tell you what, your guy, Mikey Sanderson, was the MVP of the game from Everett.
No comment.
You don't like Mike?
Well, not right now. I don't.
Give him some time, Coach. Give him some time. Give him
a
some
few
time.
minutes, and I'll really give you my feelings.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I thought the Rams battled. I thought they battled. And I really think Philadelphia is going down this week. I love the fact that they can run the ball. But Jalen Hurts, we've talked about it. Boy, he can't throw the ball at all.
I think he's hurt. I don't think he's 100%.
Yeah, and then you got Brown being a weirdo and stuff like that. I think they go down this week. I think Washington beats them. I really and truly believe that. I think that's what's going to happen.
And let's look at the AFC. You want to talk Chiefs? I mean, is it even worth talking Chiefs?
A lot of penalties, really. That's all. That's all it really accumulates to. But
yeah, what they
Bills
are,
Ravens game, though.
Mahomes makes things happen. When he doesn't make things happen, there's a
Let's make
controversy.
this happen.
Yeah, it's crazy. And how in a million years, how could Kelsey get open that much? You think maybe it's
bad. That's bad.
bad. That's a bad job by the Texans on game plan defensively. But I thought the game of the weekend, quite frankly, was the Bills Ravens. What a game, huh?
I agree.
What I don't get, and I said I felt the Ravens are the better team, but they were going to find a way to lose that game.
Mm-hmm.
It was not a doubt in my mind that they were coming out of there winning. You get Derrick Henry, you bring him in. This is the game he's got to carry the ball 30 times. 16 carries. I don't care if he gets stopped the first 20 times for no gain. You keep pounding him because he's going to wear them down. His reputation is that he gets stronger at 16 carries. I mean, I love Lamar Jackson, but I think sometimes they want to make him more of the focal point. And that's fine in a lot of games. But in that game, that's a Derrick Henry game. It's cold. It's snowy. Bang the friggin' ball.
Danny, I'm going to bring it a step further. He looked like he was on some sort of adrenaline in the second half. He was on fire the second half. Everyone else was slowing down.
Yep.
He was mowing people down left and right. I mean, it was an amazing comeback. Lamar made things happen. Again, Isaiah Likely, local kid. What a game he had. What a career he's having. But I just felt bad. Mark Andrews is universally known as one of the nicest guys in the league. Yep. And I don't know if you remember this guy, Damian Jackie Smith. He dropped the ball just like Andrews.
Terrific player as well.
Yeah. It was nice to see all of Andrews' teammates and coaches come to his defense.
Right.
But boy, you just didn't. He's such a nice guy. You didn't want to see that be the end all in that situation. But what a game! Happy for the Bills. All right, Danny, who you got? Who you got to win both games this weekend, buddy?
You know what? Because I'm so bitter at Washington. I'm going with Philly, and I hate having a root for Philly, but I think I'm rooting for Philly to win it all now.
Okay.
And the other game, I mean, my heart says Buffalo, my head says the Chiefs. I just think they're at home. They're gonna find a way to make a play that you're gonna be like, oh God, the Bills again lose this way. So I'm gonna go Chiefs Eagles.
Okay, I think the Eagles have 0.0% chance of winning the NFL championship. I just don't see unless Kenny Pickett comes in and plays great. I don't see how they can do it with Hurts a quarterback. I just don't. So that's just my opinion. I think Washington beats them. And I'm rooting against them, by the way. And then with the Chiefs, I'm happy my friends are part of that organization. I love everything about the Chiefs, except the fact that I really would like to see someone different win. But I do think the Bills are going to beat them. I think the Bills have the magic touch, and I think they're going to beat them. I think it's going to be a Bills Commanders Super Bowl. Who would have thunk it? And two exciting young quarterbacks needs. And I think Bills will win the whole thing, in my opinion. So, anyways, take it to the bank there, Damien. Take it to the bank, brother.
You got it. What is it? 1992? What is this? Bills Redskins? What is this? Huh?
I don't know, man. Oh man, John Riggins.
That's it.
Thurman Thomas. Riggo. All right, Dave, where we going, buddy? Where are we transitioning?
All right, guys. Last night was the college finale, baby. Notre Dame versus Ohio State. It was a tough game. Ohio State, all over the place, was the better team. Notre Dame did have the fighting spirit, though. They came back in the third to fourth quarter. They were marching down the field. They scored. They stopped them. But once again, they came up short. Ohio State is the 2025 national champion. And I can't say anything about it. As a Notre Dame fan, we lost, The first half was ridiculous. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. The Irish nation. Fan.
Yeah.
You're not even Irish.
No, but I have relatives as coach there.
There you
Google
go.
my last name.
There you go.
But
Oh, Passegian.
Okay, I have a question for you now.
Yes.
You're Marcus Freeman now.
Yep.
Fourth quarter in that situation, are you kicking? You okay with kicking a field goal?
No, I did not like that. I understood where he's coming from. I
Right.
did not like that. It was, what is it, 4th and 8? I still would have gone for it. But
I probably would have too, given the fact that they, I don't know. I just don't think they could have stopped Ohio State.
yes, that's exactly my point. The first half was ridiculous for the Ohio State offense. They scored every possession they got. And Will Howard only had one incompletion in the second half, and that was completely because of Watts, the safety for Notre Dame, swatted that ball at the perfect time. Will Howard has to be like in the top 4 draft boards, I think. I mean, after watching that game, he played unbelievable.
Question: Is he good? Is he good because he's good, or is he good because of what he has around? I mean, he's got 2 legit NFL caliber running backs. He's got a ridiculous receiving core. I mean, I honestly think both of those guys would start for the Patriots right now.
So let me ask you this: Is Brock Purdy good?
I'm not a bride. I say on offense,
I think
he's
Will
the
Howard and
6th or
Brock
7th
Purdy
most.
like the same situation, you know.
Pat,
People
what do you
like
think?
Brock Purdy, people like Will Howard.
If I could jump in on Will Howard.
Yep.
Will Howard was good at Kansas State, guys.
Right.
I mean, real good.
All
I
4
mean,
years
Danny,
around that.
yeah, I mean, so Danny, you're right. I mean, he's surrounded by fantastic players. Everything else, I like him. I think he's the second best quarterback in the draft.
Now let me ask you: how do you compare him with the Syracuse guy, McCord?
I think McCord's really good too, but I just think Will Howard. I mean, I think physically he's just big. I think he handles himself well. He appears to be a good decision maker. But you're right, Danny. I mean, he's surrounded by unbelievable, way better talent. So let me just give you my 2 cents about the game. I thought Notre Dame did a great job. First half, first drive of taking it to them, bringing it right down the field, doing what they got to do. Then defensively, they were a day late and a dollar short on every single down. And Al Golden's a great coach, and he will not be there next. He'll be at the Cincinnati Bengals as their DC. Yep. They might have already hired him. He's out. He's in the NFL. But I think they were a day late and a dollar short. Damian, you're right. They couldn't catch up to him. They turned it around in the second half. Yep. But boy, I'll tell you what, at the end of the first half, it looked like Notre Dame wasn't gonna score again. But in the end, fellas, this is what happened. In the end, the NIL worked.
Yep.
It was the best team that money could buy. It was the best coaching staff the money could buy. I mean, Chip Kelly was playing chess and the other guys were playing checkers. The first touchdown where he puts the guy in half motion, they snap the ball. He goes 180 and goes back out and he's wide ass open. I mean, that to me was just an amazing, that right there was an unbelievable call. But again, they're spending so much more money on their resources at Ohio State. It's what it was. It's done.
They're like the Dodgers. Everyone's getting mad at the Dodgers. Hey, the Dodgers, spending all this money. We won.
They won.
Yeah, they won.
Yeah. And again, I mean, it's just, this is what we're seeing, guys. This is what we're seeing. Speaking of college football, the word out there, guys, is private companies going to stop buying college teams. Okay. And I've heard it from a lot of different people. Yep. And it's coming. And it's coming this year. It's coming. You wait and see. Teams, corporations, collaboratives are going to go out and they're going to pay $50,000 to Toledo for their teams. Okay. And they're going to become the owners of the team. It's going to be crazy. They're going to get $50,000 to the university, and then they own the team. They're going to pay the coaches. They're going to pay the players. But they're going to get all the revenue from it too. And my prediction is you're going to see it with mid-range teams. You're not going to see someone go out and buy Michigan because number one, they probably can't afford it. But number two, how much better can Michigan get?
Right.
Reality is someone's going to go out, and UMass is too bad. Someone's going to go out and buy Syracuse. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be a really rich guy, and they're going to bring in the best coach, the best coaching staff, the best players. And Syracuse is going to be from a good ACC team to playing Ohio State in the national championship, like in 1 year. Boom. It's going to happen. What do you think, Danny?
Yeah, I mean, you look. I mean, even to a smaller scale, was it Florida International?
Yeah.
Your boy,
Who?
Pitbull.
Pitbull. Oh, I know. I know.
I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg. What he did. Now you're going to start to see.
Yeah, I mean, so I think that as we move forward, it is just, I mean, we've all known this. It's no longer college football. But you know what? We enjoy watching it. I mean, they're getting great ratings, probably the greatest ratings they've ever gotten. It's working. And, and again, this stuff's been happening for years, but it's been illegal. Now it's out on the table,
Yep.
So anyways, so that's
Crazy
the deal.
future. I got a question for you, Coach, about the whole buying a team thing. So, with NILs also being, influenced in it, what's going to stop, like, let's say Phil Knight for buying Oregon? I mean,
Nothing.
he's already pumped in
Nothing.
how much money
He already has,
now.
I thought.
No, but he can legitimately go out and buy Oregon. I mean,
Yeah, what's stopping him from doing that? You know what I mean?
It's going to be a win-win-win.
Yeah,
it's going to be a win for Oregon because he's going to pay $200 million for the football team. Great.
Yep.
It's going to be a win for Phil Knight because he's going to somehow make money on it. And it's going to be a win for all of us because in the end, who cares if UMass stinks? Who cares if Southern Mississippi stinks? In the end, we got to watch the college football playoff system, which was dynamite. I mean, it had flaws in it for sure. But no, I mean, it was no, Danny. So again, it's going to be win-win-win. It's going to be great. And you know who's going to really benefit? Is personnel people. Every team is now going to need a general manager. I mean, college teams, they need general managers.
Andrew Luck.
Andrew Luck.
Yep,
I mean,
Andrew Luck.
great.
Woj,
Andrew Luck's making
Woj's the
$1.5
GM.
million to be a college GM. I mean, so you're going to see here. Let me tell you something. You know who's going to make out the most of anyone? Danny Ventura. Because
He is. Let me know how.
he is going to be the Herald will be in a bidding war when Oregon needs someone to run their public relations. Okay.
I'm in.
It's going to be
Danny's
Phil
on
Knight.
the
I'm in. I'm in. I
gonna
like
be,
it.
Danny, it's going to be Phil Knight versus Pat Purcell. Does Pat still own the Herald?
No, Pat's not with the paper anymore.
Oh, Pat would have paid anything for you, Danny. He was a huge fan.
Well, I like vice versa.
Oh, I love Pat. He was the best.
Pat.
But I'll tell you what, it is going to be, Dame, to your point, to your question, it's gonna magnify everything. The fan bases are gonna love it.
Yeah,
Because
I mean, who would not want the owner of Nike to own a team? I mean, look at all that revenue, that merch. Come on.
Salary cap in college football.
Mm.
So we're using Phil Knight as an example. Any nutty, any crazy alum can now jump in. Any crazy alum can now jump in and say, you know what? The hell with this. I'm just going to buy the goddamn team and I'm going to hire everyone. Bang. So anyone can do it. I mean, anyone. So it's going to be wacky. All right. We got our special guest here. Let me tell you something. Massachusetts has produced some great football players. This guy's right amongst them, right at the top. I mean, outstanding player at Xaverian Brothers High School, went on to star at Stanford under Bill Walsh, and then had a great career for the New York Football Giants. One of the greatest fullbacks to play for the Giants. Let's hear it for Greg Comella. Welcome in, Muscles.
What's up, guys?
Welcome
Greg,
in, my
how
friend.
are you?
Where is he? Hey, there he is.
What's going
Good to see
on?
you guys.
What are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing really well. You guys doing
my
well?
man.
Doing good.
You guys look great.
Greg, thanks for joining us.
You.
Thanks for joining us, buddy. We're in the midst of the football season, and I meant every word I said. I mean, here's a guy that just absolutely was the epitome of a great football player, a great guy, Okay, been a great dad too. Really successful kids. It's unbelievable. Let me start it off a little bit, Greg. You're watching the NFL playoffs, stuff like that. Can you talk a little bit about, how the game has changed a little bit from when you were playing for the Giants?
Well, I think every generation would tell you that the game has become a more quarterback friendly, a more offense friendly sport, than the previous generation. I think, when I was playing, there were a generation prior to me that said the same thing.
Right.
I mean, you think about the when the game was founded, back in the 19th century and early 20th century, I think Teddy Roosevelt had a summit with all the NC2A presidents because people were dying, and there was concern that, So I think the league and at the NFL level, all the way to the college level, is doing whatever it takes to attract eyeballs, to make sure that people are comfortable, to make sure that and I think the sport's as popular as ever. It's certainly changed. There are a lot fewer fullbacks today than there were when I was playing, and probably there were a lot fewer fullbacks when I was playing than there were, 30 years prior to that.
The NFL, they're into the it's the conference finals this week. You were fortunate enough to be in a situation where you got to play in an NFC championship game. Talk about the feeling, what it was like that week, the build up to the game that could get you to the game.
My sense is these guys are super focused, that the NFL season becomes a little bit of like, it's really long, but looking back, it goes by, super fast. But while you're in the midst of it, you're really like, okay, on the Bills, who's my opponent? It's the Kansas City Chiefs, and it's not much. You try not to spend a lot of time, and the games are week to week, so you don't have a ton of time to think like, what, the magnitude and all that's involved in terms of the hoopla, and you're very much isolated from a lot of that stuff, which is neat. And then of course you get to the Super Bowl, and there's 2 weeks, and there's more kind of, pomp and circumstance surrounding that game. But while you're going through kind of the divisional in the conference championships, you're very much dialed into, we played a divisional opponent when I was in New York, and the Eagles in the divisional round. And then we played the Minnesota Vikings, who were the number 1 seed in the conference championship round. And when I was in Tennessee, trying to think now, our conference championship game was against the Oakland Raiders in 2002, who we lost to. But you're very much kind of just focused on like, it's another game. You don't try and put, because there's so much. The neat part, like I've got a son going through it at the collegiate level. Like the neat part about the professional game is so much of it is around kind of, you do scenario analysis. Okay. What's going to happen, on 3rd and 3 from midfield, from the goal line, from inside the red zone, in backed up. So you're thinking about, it was a lot of fun in that regard, personnel and, so yeah,
Being a Lions fan, I'm curious that one of your teammates with the Giants was Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
When you played with him, could you ever envision him being a coach down the road?
Great guy, great leader, had the attention of the locker room, was well liked, was well respected, was never a star, at least not on the teams that I played with him, but was still very much a presence, and had a great, he had the right amount of kind of humor. He had some toughness to him. I'm not surprised with Dan's success at all, and of course, it's really fun to kind of watch that program, that city kind of, thrive under him because they've been back for so long. But it's great to see.
Yeah. When you went, going to Zavarian, how much do you feel going to Zavarian prepared you for life at the next level at Stanford, then in the NFL, and then, in your own, life, your business life right now?
Yeah. Zavarian, was an awesome experience. Very grateful. Have had, wonderful teachers, too many to count, excellent coaches while I was there. And the game itself, I think it probably was a bigger jump for me to go from high school to college than it was from college to the pros, because at the high school level, I'm trying to think if I played against any Division I football players. I did. Certainly Brockton had a few every year. But outside of that, there's a very, very limited number of kind of, Division I football players you're playing against. At the collegiate level, you're playing against NFL guys every week. Keyshawn Johnson, Napoleon Kaufman. The list goes on and on, in college. It's just every week you're playing against somebody who's played in the NFL. So by the time I got to the NFL, even as an undrafted rookie free agent, I was like, I'm on the team until they tell me otherwise. So,
at your high school, you get recruited. All of a sudden, this guy from Stanford named Bill Walsh, who was the guy at the time. Talk about your initial experience, when meeting Coach Walsh.
It was really neat. People always say, "What was it like?" And I always used to joke, it would kind of be like Bill Belichick going back to college and coaching at the collegiate level. And here he is, in this, recruiting kids. It's kind of funny and surreal to kind of watch and see, because Bill at the time, I think, for all of my life, he was the coach, and I was probably too young to remember, a little too young to remember all of the Steelers dynasty in the 70s, but Bill was certainly the guy in the 80s. And so it was a really kind of easy decision from a football perspective when he came knocking. It was a harder decision from, hey, I'm 17 years old. Do I really want to go to California for the next 4 years? There's no transfer portal back in those days.
Right.
But I'm thrilled I made the decision. I played for Tyrone Willingham out there as well, who I still keep in touch with. It's phenomenal, but it's neat watching Coach Belichick. And I can only imagine what the kids and the coaches, high school coaches, feel like when that guy walks through, down the school halls and doors and stuff like that.
Because I remember when your signing day, Bill Walsh, and it turned out later that what he did was not legal. That he showed up at your signing. I remember the teachers at Zavarian were all like, it was like God is coming through the door when Bill Walsh is there.
It was pretty funny, and the ringleader of it all was a gentleman by the name of Paul McDermott.
The mayor.
God rest his soul.
Absolutely.
But Mr. McDermott was always a huge kind of supporter of mine, and his kids are friends, and he said, hey, it was one of these deals where, like, he was just coming back for a home visit, and the home visit turned into hey, we're going to go to Comella's, where the old man, Greg's dad's got, a restaurant. So we ate there that night. And Mr. McDermott showed up and said, hey, we're just going to do something small at the school the next day. And of course, when Bill showed up, it was Bill. It was, half the school and, you guys from the Herald and everybody else you could imagine. And so we got a little slap on the wrist of that. And I remember there was a 48-hour period where, there was some concern that perhaps I had somehow impacted my NC2A eligibility as a result of it. But I think at the time what he said was, I'm coming from the pros. I'm not used to the collegiate, and I think it was truly a unique experience. I don't think he ever did that ever again as a result.
No, definitely not.
He couldn't. I remember it like yesterday. And again, Greg, yeah, you're right. It was a little. I mean, I was from afar watching the whole thing. It was a little dicey there. That's when the NCAA had a little bit more, bite in their
Right.
in their enforcement stuff. I'm gonna fast forward to the pros, but you were, I mean, your time, you were the fullback. I mean, you, no doubt about it. You were muscles. I mean, you were cranking away. There was this inside linebacker that was playing back then named Ray Lewis. Can you tell us a little bit about what it was like to play against Ray Lewis, brother?
Well, there was nobody better, right? I mean, and we used to play those guys once a year in preseason, and then obviously we played against them in the Super Bowl. Sean Payton was our 35-year-old offensive coordinator at the time. We used to play against guys like, Ray Lewis and, some of the Steeler battles when, Levon Kirkland was their middle linebacker. And he'd be like, we're going to take out the lead draw this week. And nobody was happier to hear that than I was. But those, Ray Lewis is as good as it gets. I mean, at least in my time, tell everybody, look, somebody had to be on the other side in order for him to make it to the Hall of Fame, and that was me.
You had a nice run in the NFL. I think it was 7 or 8 years, if I'm not mistaken. How tough is it for you to start to realize, this is it?
Yeah. So, you get, 7 years is a long time. Super grateful for the time that I played. But what starts happening is you come in single. The vast majority of the guys, 99% of the league comes in single. And then kind of the natural progression of life. And you used to look up to kind of older guys who'd been in the league, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years. They were married, they had kids, and it was very foreign to you because I was living in New York City. And, at 23 years old, you go through the progression of, as you get older, and you do things like you start getting married, you start having kids, you start looking around and you realize everybody you're playing with and everybody you're going against was where you used to be just a few short years ago. And, it goes, I've been out of the sport for 20 years now. And it goes by, I kind of, from the day I started playing, I knew it was going to be for a short period of time, and I was going to enjoy every last minute of it, and never kind of look back with any regrets. And so it was a great experience. I'm super grateful. So.
Now you have a chance to earn brownie points with the missus. You've been blessed with kids who have been athletic enough in their own right to earn Division I scholarships.
Yeah.
They get their athletic ability from you or from Erin?
Well, I always say everything good my kids get comes from their mom, and all the bad things, their vices, come from their dad. So, no, but my kids are doing well. I've got 4 of them. My oldest, Abby, was a runner at UVA, and she's actually coaching now. And then I've got a son, Charlie, playing football and a little baseball over at Boston College. And then I've got a daughter, Annie, who's going to run track at Michigan next year. And then I've got one more who's still in high school, still kind of, going through the high school experience. So, but more importantly than kind of their athletic ability is, we try and teach them to be good kids, because the athletics ends. and at the end of the day, kind of, what are your values? What are your character, what are your core kind of, beliefs? And so we hope that people say, hey, they're great athletes, but they're better kids. And so that's kind of, I think, what Aaron and I have always kind of at least tried to instill in them.
It's funny you say that, because last year you probably went through a nightmare experience as a parent. Your son, Charlie, you're looking forward to it's a senior year. He's going to have a great football season. His football season lasted maybe 3 plays, if I'm not mistaken. So, and the one thing that always jumped out about me is what you heard Coach Finaro and all the other people at Zavarian say. I said, kid like that, he probably, he'd have every right to be miserable. Say, why me? Why me? And the one thing they said is he became like another coach. He could not have been a better. Al said, I've never been prouder of a kid than Charlie. The way he acted, he took the whole thing in. He became an extra coach. He talked to players and all this, and it was he was fantastic. As a parent, when you hear this, I mean, you've got to take a lot of pride in that.
Yeah, I mean, as a parent, sometimes watching your kids go through kind of setbacks and struggles is much harder than if you yourself is coming back from an ACL or something like that, because you really have no control over it. So, he kind of dove into his academics and being a good teammate and helping the coaches as they needed, and controlled, he always said, I'm just going to control what I can control. And super grateful. It was a bone that healed, and nothing more than that, and it's hard to miss out on your senior year, but they didn't really, I mean, they did great without him anyhow. So,
Got the ring.
They got their ring.
Now, one thing I was going to mention, you'd be remiss if we don't, you morphed it from a football guy into a business executive. Comella's has branched out. People, we've all eaten there. It's all a great place. Talk about your transition from football into the restaurant business.
Sure. It wasn't a straight path. Comella's was founded 36 years ago by my father, right, who was bringing homemade Italian pastas and sauces from the North End out to Wellesley, where my mom was raising us, and we'd always eat. It was communal for us. But when I stopped playing, the NFL had started doing a lot around kind of continuing education for players, and so I decided to go back and to grad school. I got my MBA, and from that, I spent a couple of years kind of in finance and capital markets, working for a family office in Boston, and then down at Bank of America in New York City. And so it wasn't until probably a dozen or so years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years after I'd been in the workforce, that I came back to work at Comella's. And since that time, we've got 11 locations, kind of wrapped around Route 128. And, I get a chance to work with my family, which is a blessing and a curse. But we're enjoying it. We employ about 220 employees. We've got a couple of franchises, that were taken over by a couple of longtime employees. So life is good. No complaints. Just trying to make sure we're delivering what our customers want each and every day and keeping our employees motivated. Now I get to be the coach.
There you go. I mean, a lot of places make pasta. A lot of places make chicken parm. The one thing that is unique about anyone who goes to Comella's is the mess. Tell us how that came about.
So years ago, we had, when you walked into Comella's, it was like walk into any burrito place and you see, like, there are the condiments, right? rice, beans, And so at Comella's, when you walk years ago, we don't do this anymore, but years ago there was what you'd call a steam table. You'd have the eggplant parm right there, the lasagna right there, the chicken parm right there, the meatballs right there. And Coach Pap may walk in and say, "I'll have the lasagna, I'll have the chicken parm, I'll have." But what would happen was, Danny would walk in, and he'd see that,
And they'd cringe.
Of the tray of 9 pieces of lasagna, there was 1 left because Coach Pap just ate 8 of them, right? And so Danny would say, "Well, I don't want the last piece. I want the fresh tray." And instead of initially what my old man was doing was he was communicating to customers like, "Look, like it's been here, 45 minutes and it's turning over very quickly." But in Danny's mind, it had been sitting there.
Right.
So my uncle was throwing the food out, and my dad was saying, "You're throwing money down in the garbage. Why are you doing that? You wouldn't go into the register and take dollar bills." So he'd say, "Here." He'd go, "Take that piece of lasagna and mix it with the eggplant." My uncle was going, "What? You want me to take the lasagna and mix it with the eggplant?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "And throw a couple of those meatballs in there too." And so initially he called it the mix. And it just started selling. He changed the name to the mess. And for years and years and years, I wouldn't eat it because I was like, who the hell eats a mess? It's just it's a weird name, but it's our best seller to this day.
Absolutely. I can see why. Now, I do have a suggestion, though, because I know that you like to name a lot of the messes and a lot of your dishes named after family members.
Yeah.
I'd like to think I'm a member of the family. I think there's room for one more addition, and you can call it the Outsider, and that would be me. I mean, you can create your own dish, call it the Outsider, and be in my honor.
Awesome. I like it.
I thought you were going to tell him to open a franchise down here in Fort Lauderdale. Get out of here, buddy. Let's go.
Don't make it vegetarian because no one will ever believe it.
I like it.
That's for sure. Hey, Greg, we appreciate you, buddy. Appreciate your time. And again, it's an absolute honor to have you on. You're such a great guy, great member of the community, legendary player. Your family's just like you, buddy. We appreciate you. And I wish one of the teams was still left in we could be rooting for. Do you have a team you root for for the Super Bowl?
Honestly, like these days I'm rooting for my kids,
Yeah.
But no, I want to see good games like everybody. I think there's 4 great teams left. And I don't know. I think, given kind of the Bills kind of, history with Kansas City, when I was a kid, they went to 4 straight Super Bowls, which looking back is such a mind-blowing stat that they went to 4 straight Super Bowls and they lost every last one of them. So I don't know, like there's a part of me maybe for the city of Buffalo that's rooting for those guys a little bit there.
Yeah.
We like when Boston teams win. So we're on to the Celtics.
Yeah. Good answer. Good answer, Greg.
Well, thank you, my friend.
Greg,
all right,
thanks
buddy.
so much,
Listen,
my friend.
Be healthy.
Hey,
Nice seeing you.
I'll see you at a horse track sometime soon, okay?
Sounds good, Coach Pat.
Give my family the best.
We'll do, Danny.
All right, take care. Good
See
seeing
you guys. Bye.
What a great guy. What
Yes.
a great guy.
Never
Making
change.
me hungry, Danny. Talk about food. Ooh.
Oh, I know. You had me going with the mess, Danny.
He
I'll tell you
brought
what.
the pizza was enough. Then he said mess, and I'm like, oh.
The food was great. It's unbelievable.
Yes.
Awesome.
Terrific. It's a terrific bargain. Great family.
Great family. Great family.
All right, guys, let's dive into it. We're in the last half of our segment. Let's talk about rants, guys. Who are we ranting about?
Danny, who you ran about, buddy?
Well, I'm going after Mike Sandra still.
Oh!
Oh, even it. That's why he had no comment.
He personally ruined my season. Unfortunately, he's such a nice kid, but he ruined my night. 2 interceptions. I mean, I can't even say I'm surprised. I mean, He's done it. He did it at Everett. Did it at Michigan. He's a terrific player. I just wish he didn't have to do it Saturday night. That's all.
I love the tongue in cheek right there. Well, mine's not tongue in cheek. I'm going to rant about Brian Kelly. I mean, God.
You should. Yep. Rant about it.
Damien, you're a Notre Dame guy. I mean, the pompous. I mean, Danny, did you know that? I don't know. I thought like if you were pompous in the state of Massachusetts, you grew up in Swellesley or Deluxebury or one of those places. I didn't know if you grew up in Chelsea, that you were privileged. And I mean, Brian Kelly, who the fuck does he think he is? I mean, he's coaching at Notre Dame. He decides that there's no way that I can go to the national championship from Notre Dame. So he bolts. He bolts to LSU. All right. It puts on a fake accent, the fake dance thing. Unbelievable. And doesn't even say goodbye to his players. And then Marcus Freeman comes in and does what? Brings them to the national championship. So you know what, Brian? You know, the hell with you. You're done. You are done. You are done with the Irish and you're done with the Rant guys. We've had it with you. No more. No more. If we want a Chelsea guy, we'll get Joe Gaff on, who used to coach at
There
Chelsea.
you go.
Yeah.
Good old Joe.
Dave, who we loving, buddy?
All right. Love it, man. Oh, man. You know what? I got to give a shout out to the coach, you know, Freeman. Absolutely, you know, he takes over the job from Brian Kelly. Bum. The whole locker room wanted him. They all put in their little notes and said, we want Marcus Freeman. We want Marcus Freeman. You see that video when he walks in, everyone goes crazy. They go nuts. And I'm just so excited to see them bring him to a national championship. Didn't win, brought him to it. But hey, there's only up from here. That's what I see with that team. Only up from here. And he is one hell of a coach. Probably top 4 college coaches in the NCAA right now, my opinion.
Well, I'm with you, buddy. Who's your shout out, Danny?
I'm shouting out Saquon Barkley. You know, as a card-carrying member of Barry Sanders Nation, I thought, you know, I'll never see this guy again. But I'm going to tell you, if there's anyone close to him, it's Barkley. I mean, he is unbelievable. The fact that the Giants general manager still has a job after this abortion of letting him walk out the door is one of the craziest sports stories of the year. Barkley is a superstar. I mean, he is unbelievable. He's a team guy. Everyone loves him. I mean, you just watch him play. It's like every time he gets the ball, you think he can go 80 yards. And there are times he does. And he's fascinating. He's really fascinating. He's the one reason I would love to see the Eagles win for him.
Yeah, he is just he's perfect. I mean, he's just damn perfect. He's just great and everything about him, and you know the whole thing. You know, the guy definitely could have got the Russian record and so on and so forth. You know what? He wanted to save himself for the playoffs. Yep. I love the kid. I love him. All right, my shout out goes to I know she's not very good looking. Not very good looking. Yeah, but Carrie Underwood. I mean, that performance at the inauguration yesterday. You want to talk about having the guts to do this. I mean, we all saw it. You know, they can't get the music right for God. Was it God Bless America? Is that what
I think that's what it might have been.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, but they're going back and forth, and she looks at him. She goes, I got this, right? And then she spells it out. I mean, I had goosebumps with her singing. I mean, she's okay looking, Dan. I don't know. You know, let's put it this way. If she wants to be on the Rant, she can pick any text. But anyways, it's going to make her day. I know. I mean, you know, she's going to go from the inauguration to a shout out from Coach Pap on the Rant. I'm shouting out Carrie Underwood. That was awesome. It was unbelievable. All right, guys, another great show. We're down to the NFL Finals next week. It's going to be a great one.
We are.
All right. We're going to love it. It'll be fantastic. It's going to be great. All right, we'll see you then.